All right, welcome back, everyone. It is 1:36. This is the start of our Monday, November 10th, 2025, 1:30 special meeting that was noticed. We have two items on today's special meeting. One is in the matter of authorizing and drafting and signing of a letter to Washington State Transportation Commission in support of Spokane County Fire Protection District 9's request for the naming of the Wandermere Bridge on Interstate 395, as well as item number 2, which is in the matter of waiving the competitive bidding requirements to expedite the installation of point of entry treatment or POET systems to support the abatement and control of PFAS contaminations on the West Plains as provided under RCW 70A.210.110. No written testimony was received on any of these two items, so I would be open to a motion to adopt these two items for our special meeting.
Mr. Vice Chair, I would move that we approve both items as you read them into the record.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Are there any comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. All right, as far as the special meeting, any additional items? Matt, Scott? Okay, then we will adjourn the special meeting and return back to our continued morning briefing and turn it back over to Jeff to take it away.
Tessa will throw the spreadsheet back up. What we were able to sleuth out over the break, working with detention, it appears the revenue projection for all options, whether it was option A, B, or C, was the same. We had made an assumption they had netted it out. And you dropped from the 5 million down to the 3 million, or again from the 3 down to the 2. And so when you take in the assumed restacking of the population of who has inmates in the system, and closing Geiger A, which does reduce 40 positions. Beds. Sorry, thank you. 40 beds. The revenue calculation does drop to the tune of the $937,000 that you see up there. And without that revenue offsetting our expenses, that's going to require another source of revenue. So where we were 107,544 to solve on, and we'd actually talked about already solving on that through a slight adjustment to our tax, sales tax. This takes us to $1,044,000 to solve on. So we could either reduce things that have been bought back. We could do REIT to parks. If there's going to be a vote on a 1% and the capacity, that's another roughly $1 million revenue source, or there is general fund and capacity.
Jeff, the EHM program and the educational programs, do those impact that 937,000 number in any way?
That's built in, that's baked into the revenue reduction assumption.
So if we were to do away, I'm just gonna throw out as an example, if we were to bring that 246 to 0, does that help with the overall number, or does that adjust that 937 number up or something?
With only assumptions today, if we are generating revenue from the EHM program, because the jurisdictions, the contracted agencies who have individuals on EHM do pay a daily bid rate for that. And so it does generate revenue. and the revenue could all go away if everyone went to another program through a third party. Some of it could go away if the judge decided, nope, I'm not comfortable putting you on EHM. I want to keep you in the jail. So what we know right now is it generates about last year about 246,000 in revenue. So without really a crystal ball of knowing what a judge may determine, it's hard to project.
So zeroing out the 246, would that drop the $1 million number down to negative 700 something?
Not that far.
No.
You have to assume there's certainly gonna be some revenue coming in against that.
You could make
You
an
have to do the
assumption.
program, you have to take out some revenue. As well as the expense side.
You could make an assumption that somewhere in between the 250.
Commissioner Jordan?
And can you walk through a little bit how the revenue projection, why the change over lunch? I'm not following how. If we have 40 fewer beds at Geiger, my understanding was they would just move downtown. So how does the revenue change? I'm not following that.
It's a very complex ADP calculation, and what our detention services team does when they estimate and project revenues. They utilize a number of factors. They utilize what the mix of population is between county responsibility and other jurisdictional responsibility. And that number changes every year because trends always change. They then build in the amount of revenue coming from other like US Marshals and DOC. And I said those populations go down, we're getting less revenue in. That brings down the net cost for ADP for all the jurisdictions. So everyone possibly pays more into it. So there's a number of different formulas that factor into it. And knowing that we'll have 40 less beds, but be able to absorb them mostly downtown. We also have to displace some of our DOC US Marshals, which reduces our overall revenues that we're having coming in. And because the county is obligated for the numbers that Bryce just looked at, I mentioned an high 80% number. 2024, the average daily population mix for the contract agencies was about 17.7%, 82.3% county. This year, year to date, the mix has changed a little bit. The other jurisdictions are amounting to about 19.7% versus 80.3% for the county. So when you run all those things back through the formula, it tells you what if things hold constant at 80.3% and the revenues that we're getting less from the DOC and US Marshals, it tells us what the remaining costs are that or what the revenues are we get from the other jurisdictions, which are showing a slight decrease in there.
So is it predominantly DOC and US Marshals? That's the main contributor.
I would say that there's probably a combination of all those, and without diving deeply myself into the methodology, into the calculation. We double checked and asked a number of questions to the team and made sure that we weren't missing anything, and their best reasonable estimate is that was the revenue reduction projection on it.
Is there anything further up the list anybody would like to come back and discuss?
I have a question.
Go for it.
So the 1,044,000, is that assuming, is there anything in there for public defenders or those 4
We
positions?
do not have them in yet.
So,
So you have those in your 1.5.
right, so if we didn't want to lay off public defenders, we're at 1,000,005. Sorry to make it deeper, potentially.
On the public defender piece.
No, that wasn't your question, Commissioner Kirk.
No, but that's important. I mean, get it on the table. That's good. That's good. Matt?
The Supreme Court issued a clarifying order. And the first part of that order says, this is regarding public defender caseload standards. The requirement that the reduced caseload standards be implemented as soon as reasonably possible does not allow for any increase in caseloads above those currently in place. So there would be an argument that we would be in violation if we reduced or increased the number of cases that are currently assigned to the public defenders. So I would recommend not laying off public defense attorneys. We can't go backwards.
Commissioner CUNY, you had your hand raised? No, it's down.
Yeah, okay, yes, so hearing Matt's comment, I mean, I get where we're at with public defense, but on detention services, I'm still a little baffled by what this means. So because when we went through all the scenarios, there's the different scenarios, and none of this revenue reduction was brought in during any of that. And it should have been in because it would have been part of all the costs associated with it. So I'm not feeling comfortable with where we're at on detention services. I mean, so is it worth closing Building A at this point? I mean, we're going to save a couple of $1 million, I guess, or $1 million, but that seems like it's all that we're really saving. So I would like an analysis as to what are we truly saving if we close Building A?
I'm just doing some math back of napkin here, Commissioner CUNY. Knowing that our status quo, which would presumably leave our revenues, projected revenues as is, there would be a need for $5.4 million more in expenses. Need to fund another $5.4 million. With closing Geiger A and eliminating the programs and everything in there, that was a $3.4 million number. Plus we'd lose revenue of 9.4. So that's about a 4.34 additional gap. So yes, the differential is about $1 million.
Yeah, plus you've got to add in the programs that we're eliminating if we close Building A that weren't going to be eliminated then if we leave it status quo. So you'd have to add those back in too.
Yep. So if you added those programs back in that we talked about, the 246, the 174, there's another $400,000. So now we're down to a $600,000 delta.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's not making sense to me. So, okay.
Yeah, I agree with you. Knowing more about the revenue now, each of these proposed options should have also had a revenue component reduction associated with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I'm willing to make a decision on detention services today, because I mean, with this new information, it's just, I don't know, it's a little frustrating. So, okay.
Commissioner Waldron.
Muted.
We can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Commissioner CUNY asked the question, and that was going to be my concern, that when you add back all of those things, there's not much savings. Does this consider us building in more bunks to downtown to be able to accommodate the 40 people already, or is that no longer on the table?
That is still a about $1 million capital cost estimated to downtown. And that's on your guys' 6-year CIP. And that does add about 34 bunks. So that was still the plan to do that.
So if you did that, though, you wouldn't lose as much revenue from the other jurisdictions for holding folks in custody.
It's a fair question, Commissioner. I don't know that I have the answer off the top of the head.
Commissioner French?
Can you scroll to the top of the spreadsheet there? Oh, not that far. So, down a little bit more to the parks. So if I understood what you said earlier, we have capacity and REIT up to 2.4 million. So could we, for the sake of what we're trying to get accomplished today, allocate, $1 million to this out of reach? And then continue to work on this to formalize some of the other assumptions that we've made, that at least we'll be at a balanced position for being able to move forward.
That would mathematically work, yes.
So that's an alternative to allow us to continue to work on some of these other numbers, but at least get past today with a spending budget that we can move forward with regard to attaching revenue to it.
And if you included the public defender in there, that's 480 plus our $1,044,000.
Be 1.5 to solve. all-
152.
525.
Yeah.
So you got 2.4 capacity, so that solves the problem. It's not the best solution, but it solves the problem as far as getting through today.
It's a solution.
Is there, I'm trying to remember, I hate to bring it back up because we spent about 14 months talking about outside agencies, but was there anything on the outside agencies we were wishy-washy on? We were on the fence, and does this number being negative change us being on the fence on some of that? I'm just, or anything further up on this list. Again, I mean, the money's still gonna go out the door, but would there be an argument that the sheriff's cars are come out of some different fund balance for the 630? I mean, it's equipment. Yes, it does have a lifespan. It's not one time, but could that 630 come out of fund balance? I don't know. I mean, it's an object. It's a vehicle. I don't know.
Yes. Answer your question,
Yeah,
yes.
Way to get there, yes.
Yeah, so
Split the difference between REIT
Yeah.
or 630 for the cars out of fund balance, and then use the remainder out of REIT, so it lessens the strain on REIT. I mean, I'm throwing stuff out, not.
Be about 900 REITs if you did 630 sheriff cars roughly.
Just kind of throwing stuff out. If you don't like the direction I'm going, speak up. So
is the object today then to adopt the budget?
No.
Or
I think it was to make a lot of decisions, and hopefully next
Get it
week.
close enough
you
that
could
we can
bring-
post it next week.
Yeah.
For the
Yeah,
2 week
so-
posting before the 12/1.
so you have to be able to have something from today that you could post, right?
Next week.
Next week, and then we can take an action on formalizing it. Okay.
On the first.
So, well, when we post next week, are we posting out on Monday? So we just have to post it
Post
on,
on Wednesdays usually. Gina,
so we still have Monday. I mean, this is just, to me, this is a big number coming back at $1 million when we're trying to, I don't know.
Can I ask, is it 2 weeks or is it 10 days? Cause sometimes we say 2 weeks when things really have to be
It
noticed. in
usually
days.
is 10 days. That's why it often posts on a Wednesday.
Okay,
I think that's also like Wednesdays and Sundays are the big paper days, and I think there's something about posting in the.
okay.
I think
Yeah,
the
so-
objective is the public needs, if the public were to ask for what your budget is looking like that you're gonna consider on December 1st, we would need to present that to them within a reasonable amount of time.
And because the next time the commissioners meet and the only time before the beginning of December is next Monday, the 17th. Unless you called a special meeting to be able to send out notice to meet the 10 days. The 17th is the last point for the board to say, this is the budget, the proposed budget I'd like you to publish as part of the notice. You're not taking action on it till the 7th or to the 1st of December.
The first.
It can be amended on the dais
Yes.
if you so choose.
Well, it can be amended after we adopt it.
Always.
There's two adopt, you can do amendments right before you adopt, and you can adopt it every week of the year if you so choose,
Yeah.
or amend.
Yeah.
Commissioner Waldron, so.
Commissioner Waldriff.
So my only concern, I like the brainstorming and around the REIT dollars. We haven't gone through the exercise of looking at our capital needs and where we might use REIT. So were we planning to do that and publish at the same time?
Yeah,
Yes.
we're gonna do read this afternoon,
Okay,
as soon as, before this big little lump landed in our laps. We are gonna close this out and go right to the CIP.
yeah, I know that we have more things than what we can pay for in our CIP as well. So I just would like to look at what those are, and then we can balance that with the needs in the operating budget. But I did like Commissioner Kern's idea about using fund balance for the cars. I don't know if we've done that in the past, because I guess my concern is, are we gonna they want another 10 cars next year, right? So that's why we've traditionally put it in the operating budget.
Correct.
You guys wanna go through the CIP to see where that ends, to inform on this?
I offer up a couple of other just ideas. That 470 right now, that our emergency communications costs are gonna be, you talked about putting that towards contingency. You can split the baby on that one and possibly do some towards closing this gap. EHM, you could say, we do want to discontinue the program, not put 246 into it, and estimate that we'll receive half the revenues that we currently receive. So that doesn't become 246, it becomes 130, 120, something like that. So just in the spirit of brainstorming some different ways to tackle this.
I kind of like where Commissioner French's idea was at, that we could potentially tap REIT to cover that, but we might just move forward and look at CIP for now, and maybe next week we could get a more detailed look at the detention piece, it's late breaking developments here, and I'd really like to see it laid out clearly so I can follow it. And we're just not gonna have that right now. That's kind of the big piece driving the uncertainty on the last decisions.
Regarding the notice requirement, we're required to publish a notice of the budget hearing at least once each week for 2 consecutive weeks. So it's not the 10 days, it's 2 consecutive weeks from our December 1st. Which takes us to November 17th, which is 1 week from today.
Does it have to be posted? So I know on the first, we are scheduled to adopt at 9 AM. If we post on the 17th, does it have to be posted before 9 AM?
I believe the notice is that the public can call Gina and request the budget. And so our objective would be to have it as in its true final form as possible for anyone that were to call Gina and request it.
If there's no more meetings after the 17th. If we want to call a special meeting,
I just know like if we are posting something that we're voting on the following day, it always has to be a full 24 hours. I'm just, when you're looking at 2 weeks in advance, because we have noticed to adopt on December 1st at 9 AM, do we have to have something posted on the 17th prior to 9 AM for a full 2 weeks?
I know
Or could we post it at 5 PM?
5
It's
p.m.
notice
on
of your
December?
public hearing, and your public hearing notice will be posted for 2 full weeks. I believe is the distinction in this case.
I know she and Jim Amacio went through this and have the dates picked out.
Yes, he did. Notice of the budget hearing.
It's notice of the
Doesn't
public
it say the
hearing.
2 days
branch.
it will be?
But the public has a reasonable expectation to call and request the budget. And so selfishly, the budget office would like to get as many of these details wrapped up before Thanksgiving, so we can enjoy the holidays.
I think you have to publish it once each week before. Not that it's 7 days before and 14 days before. But if you're voting on Monday, the 7th, you have to have them within the week before and within 2 weeks before. But I know Jim and Gina have done the research on that. And given us through the morning of the 17th to make decisions.
Commissioner Waldron?
So it doesn't matter what time we hold our budget hearing on December 1st. It doesn't make a difference.
Well, we're posting this at 9 AM, but you could gavel in at 9 and continue it, but we do need to hold it that day.
But we haven't noticed it for 9 AM yet,
Yes.
officially, right?
Yes, I believe that action was taken last week.
Yeah, you voted last week to post the notice.
Oh, okay.
It's not uncommon in years past where the VOCC is assembled in here after calling to order over there, wrap up a few things, and then walk over and take the final vote. So it's not unprecedented to do a little final closing of details. Then vote at 10, 10:30, 11, whatever.
So just to clarify, you're saying we can still discuss decision direction on Monday, the 17th, and then post the draft budget on the 19th, we'd be fine for the 1st.
That's my understanding, yes.
All right.
Jim has communicated to
And
us.
then again, probably the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And then the vote would be on the 1st.
So we will have in the morning by 9 o'clock, the notice of the budget hearing.
And do we have a third vote? Head nod, thumbs up, to at least pencil in a public defender for positions.
No votes, but just directions, so we can finalize the budget.
I have 2 hash marks.
Do we have a choice?
Based on what our lawyer just said, it sounded like we probably should do it. So there's always a choice, but there might be repercussions from some choices.
So who are the 2 that you have as a yay?
Both Commissioners Waldrop and Jordan said earlier today that they would like to at least revisit it.
If you want to go first, I can be the second, if that helps.
It doesn't, at this point of being, we'd pencil it in so you could see your full.
It is penciled in right now at that, to get you to the
It's already on there.
1.5 million. We just want to confirm that that's the current direction.
You're solving at the 1.5 versus just over $1 million.
I don't know, they've got a choice based upon memo, so it will be the 3rd.
That's right. Not
That's
happy
how I
about it.
read when I saw
I mean,
the state Supreme Court's.
That's one we're forced to fund.
Yeah.
So.
you got 3.
So
I would like to throw on the table, we purchase the sheriff's vehicles out of fund balance. That's 630.
I'll be the second on that one.
Commissioner Waldron says she liked the idea.
I like the idea, but I worry that next year we're gonna have to find another
No,
600,000
Yeah,
for
no,
more
it's-
cars. So I guess
it-
I'm always looking ahead at the next year, and I know we're projecting a deficit for next year. So
It's a
I'm
one-year
trying to-
solution. It's a one-year solution. Yeah.
I can tentatively put that in there as a one-year solution.
So it gives us 3 tentatives there,
A zero.
at least look at it.
She's doing it. You're doing it. You scroll, but she's entering.
So then that's leaving 900 to shy.
Oh, Commissioner CUNY.
So I think I want to have some time to talk to Bryce because this whole detention services thing just isn't, I don't know. I'm very concerned about it if this is how it's happening. So I guess I would like to see a little more analysis than just what we did over lunch to take it to now where it's really almost a net negative, it's the same to basically keep it open versus closing building A. And that just doesn't make sense to me how it can be the same. So I'm struggling with that.
We can. I mean, the earliest we can have a group conversation unless a special meeting is called would be to invite Bryce next Monday morning. Unless there's.
Yeah, and I'm saying I'm willing to talk with Bryce, this week to figure out where this is happening. I mean, I think there's got to be more way to save money if we're going to close building A. And if we're not saving any money, then why are we doing it?
Well, some of it's the math of not X.
I still got a box of matches.
Yeah, so I think that's a problem is like when they gave us these 3 scenarios, they didn't give us the true costs and of what it was going to be. And so now we're forced, to this scenario. But again, I mean, even, Commissioner Jordan said it too. It's like, it doesn't make sense how you're reducing 40 beds that aren't being used all the time and how we're going to have all the additional revenue that's going to go along with 40 beds. I mean, where we're basing on 40, it just, like I said, it's not making sense to me how this is penciling out.
Do you guys want to, those who are interested, book individual meetings with Bryce over the week? Or do you want, or 2 at a time? Or do you want us to have a conversation here?
Are you confident from the budget office that Bryce's analysis was correct?
I think based on the conversation this morning,
Scott.
which gave us the aha moment.
When we increased the submitted budget from the expense side by the proposed add backs and kind of ran it through the rest of the formulas with Bryce, he did it on his side, I did it on a different spreadsheet, and we came to the same number at the end.
Was a 45-minute quick look over.
So if we didn't do the add backs, you're saying the $1 million wouldn't be there? Or you just realized that $1 million is going to be there no matter what?
If we did no add backs, I believe the decrease would be larger.
Add backs for the 174, the 246. Was that your question?
In the
Commissioner?
3,
The 174 doesn't equate to any type of revenue though, does it?
Correct.
It
Right.
just-
See, this is why none of it's making sense.
We can eliminate the 174 and that
Yeah.
saves us
it's
money.
independent. of
There's
the
no
174.
revenue that is lost. That's only expenditures.
Yes.
Just the 246 has revenue from what's up
Okay.
there.
And the $3.3 million.
Yes.
And the difference is between the $5.3 million. So the revenue that was submitted is more in line with if you funded $5.3 million. back to detention services.
Just a question. My preference would be, yeah, if people want to have individual conversations, that's great. I would like to have like a 10-minute presentation after you guys have worked with detention to just make it crystal clear, so we can all follow the logic of it. Cause it's a lot of just kind of conversation right now and different numbers and decreases, and I'm just totally lost on it, on how it changed and why. So I would just like to see a little short PowerPoint saying, here's what it is, here's how it works under the formula. Just so I can follow it, and then you can move to decision space from understanding. That's just my.
It is not an intuitive model. It's even more challenging to explain. I'm confident in what Bryce developed on the fly this between our meetings here, and as Tessa said, she was doing her own math on her own side, they can have the same, pretty much the same number. But being able to explain it, I think, is the important thing. And Bryce, being the keeper of that methodology, is in best position to be able to explain it.
Okay, set up. So should we go look at capital, see where that is? And see if that provides any changes of thought.
Ron, that is also in the shared folder.
Quite small if we see about 5 columns. Copies for them quickly.
They all have it in their shared folder. Maybe for the screen, Ron, if you could hide. Yeah, column D. There you go. That gives you a little bit more, and then at least we can see Grant and
You shrink the size of column A a little
we can column C.
bit. Yeah, the first big one. There we go. That will. You want to see, as we go through this, you have the general fund column for stuff such as if we're gonna do sheriff cars, special revenue, a different source, REIT, if it's REIT, grant, if it's grant, and you'll see we've pre-programmed in from the bonds as we go through this stuff that's funded with debt service. So it's not only what you're looking to fund at what amount, but which column it's in, but some of it's not REIT. I think Tessa, since you have it on your sheet, I'll let you talk.
Yep. We did go ahead and highlight some cells where we think we'd like to draw some attention, and filled in some amounts where we can help kind of drive the conversation a little bit. You will see at the top that we do have our $4.5 million in REIT capacity that you can use to buy things with.
And that number can go up or down. You'll recall that's just the placeholder plugged amount. We've talked about this budget cycle as we look at the bonding and paying back.
Alrighty, starting at the top, animal control. I think we've kind of discussed both of these, and don't feel that either one are hypercritical right now for 2026, and that we should look at some longer term options for the crematorium repairs. The auditor recording system is also referenced in the IT budget, and that is funded on your operating page to the tune of $600,000. We will see that again.
Council for Defense, the 4 million request
think
New office space.
there's other campus remodels built into our bond proceeds that we'll see here in a moment for Monroe Court. So we think we should get through that project first before adding on another space project for the campus. The downtown jail capacity remodel, that estimate was revised to be $1 million. We did adopt in our 2025 budget spending $2 million, so we would propose just doing a budget roll forward of $1 million for that project from 25 to 26.
Question. Does that have any effect on current fund balance?
Yeah.
From an accounting perspective?
This is general fund.
Yeah.
Well, we have two, but in 1 million.
Right, you'd increase,
Okay, so if,
By the
so if
double,
that,
but-
those funds were not really in our, what we call fund balance, because they were designated
we
for something.
plan to use them.
So basically,
this year.
we undesignated 1 million of those,
Yes.
which would go to undesignated fund balance.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So you guys good with the million? Staff recommends here, or does anybody want to call out something we've already passed?
We recommend that and holding off on the fire code updates at this point in time.
So just remind me, so jail capacity remodel, what's it get us? Again, this is the 34 beds. 34. And we're confident we can get it for $1 million, or is that just to start?
That's our kind of our high estimate of the costs.
And showers, I think, are involved with the extra capacities requiring some additional showers.
Capacity for the dorms.
You wanted to leave us, you want us to leave the $1 million there at this point? I'm seeing it's,
On this conversation right here, yeah.
let's go back around.
Commissioner Waldron?
Well, no, I think we should leave it in there because whether it's this year or next year, if we close a wing or make changes to our use of Geiger, we're going to have more beds. I mean, I think it would help the community to have those beds downtown and help us because it would be a revenue source, whether it's from local jurisdictions or DOC or the marshals. So it seems like something we should keep in there if we can just roll it from this year's restricted.
What we'll do then, that gives us 3.
Alrighty, down into the facility space, we have our campus infrastructure improvements and campus remodels funded by bond proceeds. We do not think at this point in time it is necessary to do the flooring replacements. The historical courthouse repairs, 500,000 of that is coming from historical preservation funds. That is in the historical preservation budget that you were presented earlier this fall. And then there's a grant to do the rest of the work. The sidewalk replacement, we would recommend that you utilize TIF funds. This is for sidewalks out front of the campus here. They are well within the scope of the TIF and there is funds available. So we think that's a good way to fund those improvements. Fair and Expo, they are working hard to utilize their own funds. So they are the special revenue in the special revenue column. So their fund will pay for a majority of the requested improvements. The $500,000 under debt will be part of the campus infrastructure improvement bond.
And the TIF funds for the sidewalk repair. Do those have to be approved by the city council?
Not yours, not the stuff that's just part of the county's portion.
Okay,
I'm aware of. So they have their own bucket as well.
so the
For sidewalks.
the TIF funds that were spent up there at the corner of Gardner and Monroe, is that out of our TIF funds or is that out of the city TIF funds? Gardner and Monroe.
Sure what,
The old auto mechanic building that Larry Stone bought.
I'm not aware of any dollars that the county has contributed to any
The county TIF
improvements
did.
around there.
Okay, I'm just worried about the boundary. And was that included in the North Monroe boundary or the county boundary?
I'd have to look. Sure, but I believe that would be in the North Monroe City, not the West Quadrant County. I'd have to verify.
But aren't we part of the North Monroe TIF boundary? You might want to take a look at that because as I remember, there were two TIF boundaries. One was the city for Kendall Yards. The other one was North Monroe. And the North Monroe was what included the county campus. Am I remembering that accurately or not?
My memory on that is fuzzy. I know there are multiple boundaries and I thought ours was pretty close to just our campus.
I believe then there wouldn't be any TIF funds if it's just our campus, because our campus is tax exempt.
No, the only thing that I see us tracking is what we call the West Quadrant TIF. I just don't know how much of that overlaps with the North Monroe or not. It's definitely bigger than the county campus, because it goes to the west, I believe a little bit to the east, but I'd have to double check on the map. I'm pretty sure we have a map of that.
Yeah, the boundary that includes us, I believe, is North Monroe, because otherwise, if it's just the campus, there is no benefit.
I just thought we were a subset of the larger boundary.
No, we're
that they
not
were
part.
included.
Well, we're part of the West Quadrant, but we're partners with the West Quadrant,
Mhm.
West Quadrant with the city of Spokane. That's why they need our approval to do anything, but anyway, check the boundaries.
Yeah,
It would appear that based on our GIS map, what we reference the West Quadrant TIF does go up North Monroe.
Okay,
Doesn't appear to be two different ones, but we'd have to verify. And it goes all the way west to the river.
Yeah.
Up to Boone, down to where the Kendall Yards piece is. There's also the sub area for the Kendall Yards piece, and it goes over to pretty much Riverfront Park as well. Portions of it. Washington.
Okay.
So it looks like it is all inclusive there. But from what I'm aware of, the only thing that we're tracking funding wise and deposited into our TIF account for the West Quadrant is the county's generated dedicated revenue. The city would have their own money that the treasurer provides to them for their West Quadrant TIF.
okay.
Commissioner
On
Jordan?
this one, what's the scope of the sidewalk project? You know,
it's really these ones that are really buckling out front of campus, and along the side by Human Resources, I believe those sidewalks have gotten pretty.
Talking about Broadway, that's on front here.
is it just in front of the courthouse or does it go all the way to Monroe? No, who would know that? So I can say Gil.
Gil.
Okay, I'll reach out to Gil. Thank you. Just wanna,
I know we just talked along here, but there's been high step. It's up by 12, 15 inch. Step off.
okay.
Move on to information technology. You'll scroll down just a skosh. We have the auditor reporting software here penciled in at $600,000 from the operating funds received from the motor vehicle license increase. So we just are making sure that that's inked on our capital plan, but funded via those dollars. We have our first yellow highlights here. We did talk with IT about some of the physical server replacements and the switch replacements, so 71,000 and 95,000. Those are critical infrastructure improvements. That they would like to see funded. There could be significant impacts if those projects. Question,
Yeah, go
and
for it.
those are REIT eligible?
No.
No, oh, okay,
That's why they're in the general fund column.
okay. So fund balance is the proposed source.
then in future years, work with IT to incorporate those requests into their ongoing operating budget request. We also have the line for Aumentum. We would recommend that you fully commit the funding. We know the project spend down will be over 2 years, so we have an estimate of 5.5 million for 26 spend down to get the project started. However, we do recommend that you obligate all 11.7 million. Into your 26 budget, and then we'll carry it forward into future years, so
And-
Jeff doesn't have to keep bringing the capital sheet back to you.
And the 10 million of that would be the formerly ARP general fund. 0.7 would be the.
I'd say go ahead and pencil that. I think
The
that,
board's kind of already given some
yeah,
direction on
that's
that.
been the plan for a while here, I think. What was the other, what were the ones you said IT said was critical? Which
The
lines?
Data center physical server replacements, $71,000, and campus switch replacements, 95,000. The cabling is a lower priority.
And the switch replacement isn't, well, no,
It's
I
not
guess
the
that's not
electronic
like
switch,
the-
it's an IT switch. It's something to do with the way the internet works or something.
So just a question for Scott, maybe is for the campus switch and the data center. Are those typically things that we would like to have in the IT budget or not?
I mean, ideally, you include your normal recurring capital replacements in your operating budget. I think that's the right way to do it. When things were squeezed this year with our trying to keep flat, I think they raised these as some important needs for replacement and investment. But yeah, I mean, similar to the sheriff's vehicles, you know, you're gonna buy this every single year. You should try to figure out a way to put it in your operating budget.
What it for IT, is there actual spend on pace, or is there any unspent capacity that we might have to roll over from this year?
Hey, Jason, can you check that and Teams us?
Yeah, we'll need to look. I know they're
Looking into the calculation.
they're tracking very closely, and this is also the time of year where they make a large payment to Microsoft for 1 point something million for our licenses for the next year. I know they're tracking very closely right now. But we'd be happy to review that. And we can come back to that one here in a little bit while Jason pulls some information.
You heard his name, I'm just texting questions.
Alrighty, if we'll scroll down to the parks section. Oh, there were also several requests for juvenile, however, you already gave them the green light to do. Finish their showers with some capital money they'd already received, and we think that. Given kind of where we're at this year, it's probably best not to start another project there in 2026. So into parks. They have a request for maintenance and operations funds for their vehicle replacement plan. The request for 2026 is $438,000. From discussions earlier in this process, we penciled in the 160,000 from for the parks add backs from the general fund operating sheet, just to show how that impacts the REIT capacity at the bottom. This was what we penciled in from last week's discussions. So if we wanted to increase the amount of parks that is covered by REIT, we would just update this
We
figure
can come
here.
back around to that.
Yep.
Should we go through all the parks and then come back up and see what they want to do?
Perfect. We are recommending you do not do any new master plan or plan developments at all. And so all of the projects that we have highlighted in yellow, under REIT here are things such as Camp Caro parking lot seal coat for $15,000.
But before you move on past that, up a little higher, what is the, I mean, I see it's grant funded, but the $75,000
Oh, yes.
ORV feasibility study?
That's
Or
one, they've
utilities?
not brought it before the board yet. For approval. Per the agreement, we looked at it with Heather and Alyssa. Michael and Alyssa. Michael and Heather, names like that, doesn't matter. The understanding would be if you accept that. And do the study, that the project would start the following year. Per the language of the contract.
What is it though? Utilities feasibility study?
I
Are you
believe
bringing water or electricity out?
to understand how the current utilities at the ORV park support the operations or may need to be enhanced to support an
Additional
usage.
Park,
I think that's what I read on Michaelin's sheet.
it's one, we can bring back some more info, but if you're not looking at spending in the out years. On a new project, it's one to,
Potentially not.
Apparently Doug is on Zoom. Would we like to, I mean. Is there any desire to do it? I don't have any desire. Should we just keep moving on down the list? I think. It sounds like it's something that would result in us spending more money. So I think.
That's the way the paperwork read.
All right,
to us.
I think we're in a situation where the answer is probably no.
so you'll need to, yeah, because the contract has not come before the board yet, but they have received the grant.
Okay.
Just FYI.
I say just keep moving down the list.
Okay.
So. And probably say no to that grant.
Already, so we did Camp Carroll, they're $15,000 for the parking lot. And then the next yellow highlight is Glen Eden, a potential playground replacement. $330,000, this would be REIT eligible. Holmberg Park parking lot reseal, $15,000 again. And then skipping down quite a bit to Pine River Park Shoreline Bank Stabilization Project, $37,000. REIT eligible. And then Prairie View replace the playground retaining wall, $38,000.
You'll see all the plans vary in there from other funding sources.
Yep. Latah Creek self-funding the golf irrigation pond lift station out of the golf fund. And then $4 million
It's the
for
golf
the
main.
golf maintenance building, and then $1 million for the driving range at the golf course that would be debt funded.
Doug teams me. Same regarding the 75,000 grant. Additional spending could be from future grant funds.
that one more time, Jeff.
That the 75,000 for the grant they have in hand. Additional spending could come from future grants.
Could or will.
Good.
We could ask the team to look a little more in depth at what the strings are if we did not go with the implementation of the project. If we get risk to pay the funds back.
I've said this when I had to step out, but on the renovations and the driving range for Liberty Lake, it's being paid for through debt. According to that, is that debt specific to the golf course, or is that the?
Golf course enterprise funds
We'll
will pay
pay
that
that.
5 million debt
Okay.
service
All right,
all the way through.
okay, thank you.
So when you see the 3.2 million on REIT for debt service, that's for everything except that 5 million.
Okay.
How do we feel about some parking lot reseals for next year?
Question.
Yeah, go for it.
So we have 4.5 million of capacity.
That's what we've estimated as a good place to strive towards. There's no magic in that number other than what we were thinking for many years. If you averaged about that, it would also give you plenty of room to pay back the debt capacity on the bonds we're selling.
So those parking lot reseals are pretty small items. And they're re-eligible, and it's kind of a maintenance thing.
That was the
Oh.
theme of what we chose, was more your maintenance and
Yeah.
rental type projects.
We targeted highlighting the maintenance types of things,
see.
no new capital stuff.
the ones that are yellow.
Yeah, maintain what we have.
We did not get to 4.5 million, by the way, with the ones that were highlighted.
So your highlights are maybe suggestions to think about REIT
Yes.
there. And then we have the other conversation where we might need to take up a decent amount of that capacity for operational things.
We have 200 suggestions. We're quite a ways under 4.
Well, parking lot reseal sounds good for me if we have the money.
You want us to plug that in, you'll see what a total is. You can always revisit.
Playground equipment.
That was the bigger one, 330.
Or shoreline stabilization if we want to stay small.
Question, there's also so that you're talking about the 330 for Glenmead Playground.
Yep.
I assume if it says, I'm looking at Holmberg Park, if it says master plan and 30% plan development,
It's starting something that will,
Likely end up being a multi-million-dollar project.
like the pool at Holmberg Park. For example, potentially. Yeah, okay.
Project write-up for the playground equipment did read that the equipment is old and starting to not meet safety standards.
it's the park on South Hill adjacent to the aquatic center. So I'm assuming
No, that's not there.
that's
It's,
what.
We Googled Gleneden, it's the north
That
one.
means going up north.
It's up
Oh,
north.
there's the one down there.
It's been so long since I've been there and I'm trying to look at Google Earth images to jog my brain. What's there?
Well, Prairie View is the one.
Little Spokane.
There's not a,
Spokane.
Oklahoma is the one between the highways. It's just north of the Wander Meter.
no, I know where it's at. I'm trying to remember what it's like, cause it's kind of got like a long driveway that goes between houses into it. It's very much in.
Behind,
Yes, it's kind of surrounded by.
Based on
homes.
Google Earth, it looked like
And-
you wouldn't know it's there if you weren't
Exactly.
from the neighborhood.
Exactly, but I'm just, as I'm seeing replacement, I don't remember there being a ton of equipment there. So it's like to replace for $330. I mean, that just, oh, what are those pictures, Chris?
This is from
What'd you find?
Google. You can just see some of the current equipment on there.
A lot of times you're also replacing the
The
ground
mat
underneath
underneath.
and the mate for the
Yeah, that's what
safer
it looks
fall
like.
Yeah.
type stuff.
That was included in the write-up as well.
Place that?
The replacement would be a lot
I,
bigger.
yeah, I assume it's replace and enhance.
If dug on, he could fill in details.
I buy it.
Yeah, sure.
You have a
Take a
hand
look.
up too.
Repair light data place too. I saw that first.
Yeah, I'll look for it.
It's true.
Paper.
Mhm.
Commissioner Waldriff.
Oh, I was just going to say that I know that the playground equipment and all of the padding and bark, and I mean, it's gotten more and more expensive. But it seems like we should pick one or two a year that if they're needed to be upgraded. We have a lot, so it'd be important if Parks thinks this is the most important one to replace. I'd be in favor of putting in the dollars.
Commissioner CUNY.
So back at the top of parks, was the lease payments correct on the vehicles? And
Correct.
I think we need to fund those because they're lease payments, so it was like 5-year lease. And part of that was reflective of when we sold the racetrack, that I think that's when we approved, and Doug can correct me, that's when we kind of approved, doing those leases, when we sold the racetrack with park funds.
You want to promote Doug so you can.
So I don't think we have a choice but to take care of paying for those, because I think it's a 5-year lease on those, if I remember right.
Some of them might be new purchases too, which Doug should be able to shed some light on.
Very top.
Do we still have any proceeds from the racetrack sale?
We do not.
It's all been utilized. Yeah.
Please that.
Combination of, as I recall from Doug, there was a combination of outright purchases and then lease of some light duty vehicles perhaps. So-
Correct.
Okay, so it's not the lease payments.
There was a plan presented, commissioners, and it involved a combination of buying larger, longer lasting equipment outright and leasing more affordable pieces that tend to have a shorter 10-year lifespan. And I think we are doing a series of like 5-year leases where we own at the end of it and then carry it for another 5 years, and have put together a good plan where we're basically rotating out those smaller pieces every 10 years or so. So I think we are mid-commitment on several leases right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Doug, how much of your operating expense budget contemplates the lease payments in there? And of this 438, what is related to new purchases versus any ongoing lease costs?
Yeah, my operations manager tells me that the 438 is for new purchases and the lease is actually covered in operating. the lease commitments.
So you've got the lease commitment, the ongoing one covered in your existing M and O. This is for new purchases.
That is my understanding, yes.
Okay, thanks for that clarification, Doug.
Mhm. And I'm happy to provide any clarification that may be of help related to the playground or any other projects, if helpful.
I guess my question would be, what's your top priority in these?
Oh, gosh, I believe we did list them in priority. I'd want to look at that. But I know the playground equipment, for example, is definitely reaching end of life. And with new equipment, we're careful to use a solid surface safety fall, which saves some time and ongoing costs related to maintenance. So I think we tried to be very careful in most every project suggested here as helping to keep or lower maintenance costs from what they currently are for these various items. And not looking at improvements that would cause additional costs for maintenance.
Question for Doug. Doug, can you, in terms of that playground, Glen Eden Park, can you talk about why that one's recommended versus other playgrounds? Is it a function of use or just the outdated nature of the equipment at that park relative to other playgrounds?
I believe it's reached end of life. That is an example. I think we have the safety fall material there that requires it requires additional material to be added annually throughout the year, where the solid surface eliminates that need. And it's very outdated as well. There's like the metal slide, the old style metal slide that you may have some of us may have enjoyed when we were in the first 10 years of life. And so there's a zip line up there too that is basically worn out and reached end of life. So it's just it's in need of replacement. And a playground equipment and the safety fall material is just very expensive these days. I think we have like a rubber walkway around the exterior that is failing as well that helps to hold the safety fall material in place.
I would personally pencil that in if it's gonna be a safety issue. We don't want safety problems on playgrounds.
That's 2 we've heard for Glen Eden.
Sure, go for it. My question, now, if we use REIT capacity, like Commissioner French was mentioning, we don't have 4.5 to spend, do we?
Well, we're-
Correct. It would be penciled in on that second line right under the vehicle replacement plan. We did have a placeholder for whatever we decided. So we'd started with the $160,000 from last week. And that could be revised to be 1,160,000, just 1 million even.
Last week when you said 160, either general fund or REIT, we plugged it into both just for a placeholder. Until final decisions. As we get through this, we can look at what our balance is at the bottom and then adjust accordingly if need be.
Quick question for Doug. Hey Doug, can you just talk about the Holmberg Park master plan request and what that is for?
Yes, the Holmberg Park, we have had that. Boy, we've been pushing that out year after year, but it's been a large priority identified in the last 6-year park plan. It would envision elimination and demolition of the existing pool and potential for additional enhancements to the park. So we would effectively go out to the community and seek whether or not what they would like to see there. We have a ball diamond. We recently converted some of the tennis courts to pickleball courts. There's been talk on utilizing the old pool to accommodate additional pickleball, for example, and that process effectively would just formalize that. We would go through and obtain input from the community and see what that might look like. And then that positions us down the road, should we choose to go after and pursue additional grant dollars from the Recreation and Conservation Office. Having that master plan that outlines what the community is looking for is very essential in being competitive in a future grant process. Yes, that does tend to involve matching REIT dollars from the county as well.
Well, I'm maybe the only one, but I'll just say I would like to have that. I hear a lot of people asking me about Holmberg Park and the dead pool there. The pickleball courts are really well used, popular, and it's in an area that's, there's lots of population around there. It's heavily used park. So
Yes.
It's in my district, but I would like to see it. I know we're in an era where we've expanded the parks and had new parks come online. So I know we need to be cautious about maintaining what we have, but that's of interest to me. So I'll just put that out.
Of the Pine River Park.
Shoreline bank stabilization, 37,000. And Prairie View playground retaining wall replacement for 38,000 as a maintenance, both maintenance items.
Yeah, the river bank is quickly eroding at the Pine River. We've had a lot of children really enjoy digging in the sand. And so we've done some work in-house to prepare to be able to have this completed at the smaller dollar amount. If that's helpful.
Pine River is also up kind of in the vicinity of the Glen. It's right along Little Spokane Drive.
So is that just temporary, Doug? I mean, kids are still gonna dig.
Well,
Is it fixing it and then letting kids, I mean, I was just there, I was there 2 weeks ago. And walked around, checked out the playground equipment there, checked out the shoreline. I mean, I mean, the water, it's very natural setting. I mean, you see, natural erosion, which I'm sure you also see some erosion that's been exacerbated by children. But I mean, if you backfill that, I mean, are the kids just gonna dig again as soon as the weather's nice?
Yeah, the design would involve bouldering and reinforcing against future erosion. So similar to the retaining walls and enhancements you may have seen up at Bear Lake. And so the idea is it would be a more permanent fix and avoid this becoming a more expensive fix in the long run. And so that it would prevent this type of damage or erosion from occurring in the future. And it was brought to our attention through concerns from citizens.
And all of that for bouldering for $37,000?
It's a relatively small project. We've done been chipping away in-house at design and permitting for that. So my staff feels fairly confident that it can be done with that. And the concern is if we don't complete it, we may eventually lose the small shelter and could limit use of the shoreline from the way it's being utilized right now currently.
Mr. Waldron.
I was just gonna say I would support those two maintenance projects that were just mentioned. The bank stabilization, and then what was the one before?
Playground retaining wall.
Prairie
Was
View.
that at Prairie View? Okay. Or
Yes.
yeah, I mean, it just seems like these small little projects, they are, if you're doing a lot of the design in-house, that's great, Doug. And, you know, just doing these little projects probably down the road saves us more money, right? What you're saying, to either do a more major project or it might impact other areas of the park. So, anyway, I mean, Doug, I know you have a long list, so I trust that the ones that you're highlighting for us, you know, they can be done in the next year, right? They're maintenance, they're not adding new stuff to the system. So just my
Correct.
thoughts.
Yeah, we're really trying to identify projects that provide the best bang for the buck and where we're addressing a safety issue or preventing a small issue turning into a major safety issue. And the retaining wall is a great example of that, where the existing wall is a wood product and is basically rotted out up there. And so we would look to address that with a more permanent type design.
Got about 600,000 of REIT spent with decisions so far. So I've heard one person on those. Do we move on, or are there others with interest? Should we scroll down?
Well, I mean, if a kid falls or something, you know, and gets hurt, I mean, that's gonna cost us more than $37,000 potentially, so. I'll support if there's. If there's a safety aspect to that, we think someone could get hurt. Then I'll support the Pine River Park 37 and the 38 at Prairie View.
We've got a third here, so we'll pencil those two in. Rolling down. Golf is self-funded. You'll see a lot of numbers in there, but it's special revenue.
And then we're down to the sheriff's section. Where we've discussed 630,000 for patrol vehicles. The Valley vehicles are funded with Valley revenue, so they have a special revenue component there. We have the RMS discussion, proposing that the Valley would pay for theirs, their portion, and then the county would be approximately $1,025,000. And then the forensics chamber, not sure how to pronounce that word very eloquently, would be funded by DUFB funds, so we have put that under a special revenue buy, but it would be in the general fund budget.
And when you have that 630 for general fund, that's general fund balance. Okay.
You got
Is what you're currently proposing.
Yeah. I just want to make sure this wasn't a number that then carried over to our other spreadsheet, if the two spreadsheets are linked by an equation or something, or a formula.
There is the request for additional courtroom space, but again, I think with the other campus remodels we've got going on, let's not focus in on courtroom construction right now. So that leaves you currently with 160,000 from the general fund buyback sheet, spending $595,000 of REIT out of your 4.5 million. So you have some capacity there to make other funding decisions from REIT to the general fund.
Or we'll roll over to another year or something.
And you just save REIT funds for future projects.
As Amber pointed out earlier, you know, we've got a tough budget in 27, so I just assume not consume more than we absolutely have to in REIT funds for general operation this year and save a little capacity for next year. In a perfect world, we wouldn't have to spend any REIT funds, but looks like perfect has left the premises. So.
I know this is not going to be popular with everybody on the call, but I will bring us back to WSU Extension is still 100% discretionary, correct? How much do we have? How much on the previous?
237,000. No, that was.
That doesn't seem right.
246.
I thought it was in the 3 range.
Yeah.
Right?
3.
Yeah, because we added back more.
Yeah.
Yes, it's this plus, I'll get this.
50,000 more than 318, 358.
There we go. We wrote it down on our sheet.
So one more time.
Right now to WSU Extension 318, 358.
318,000. That would go a long way to our county budget. If we were to bring that down to 0. I'm throwing it out there. That's, again, every dollar that is spent on an outside agency, especially one that has such a close tie to the state and a large university with a whole lot more money than we have. So. Scott?
Jeff, and Tess, remind me, do we not have some due fees that are available? That we anticipate will be available at the end of the year, and could we apply that to reduce that number, or have we applied it to reduce that number?
We are planning on there's 2 due fees. Jointly, they're just over 100,000. 100, 110, which would be applied against their expenses this year and next year. So essentially it will save the general fund a little over $100,000. It'll come from due fee versus we're going to apply some of them this year. So that go to fund balance.
Was in our initial plan to utilize some of those funds this year.
So would we have half of it that would reduce off the 318?
About a third of it, of 318.
So 2/3 will be used this year, about a third will be remaining for next year. Okay, so not big, but $35,000 that could then reduce off the 318. Okay. Something to be aware of.
What was their initial request?
500 and
They originally, whatever 287 doubled as.
Their 2025 budget was
540-ish.
537.
And originally the board had set a 50 to 100% cut. They came back, I want to say it was upper 30s. We ran the job, it was about a 40% cut. Ended up taking, when they came back with the counter. Board accepted the counter.
So the due fee would be a one-time.
Well, spend them
Just
down
all
and
fall
close.
next year.
trying to get rid of those things as much as we can. There's a lot of accounting carryover. Administrative burdens.
That was Randy's word of advice on the way out the door. Bit of the doof.
And so the other thing about WSU extension was it's gonna be a reimbursement based contract, plus they would be hiring up mid-year, correct? Don't they have a vacant position and we
Their
expect,
director position is vacant. They're looking at a regional model, so it might not come against us, or only a percentage of it would against the contract, but it would be a reimbursable contract. They just don't get the money. If they don't spend it, they don't. They
I'm
don't
just-
get it.
thinking about if there's a planned use of doofbies to reduce the net impact next year. What if we reduce the expenditure amount by that amount, knowing that these other factors might ultimately make that work? Even without the doofy, if that makes sense, but we don't really know until we get into next year's actual spend. Does that make sense? So,
That's why I was highlighting the fees. It could be if there's $35,000, you could reduce it off of 18. That gives a little bit more capacity.
it might be a way to lower the top line spend without having an impact on the program by a bit more.
So if we were to cut them to 50%, that would be 274 as opposed to 3, it is now. We could make another 50,000 probably.
Yeah, their counter was 49,858 of an addition to the 50% level. And we could apply the doofbies all next year. We kind of thought they're eligible this year, so why not start working them down? No,
What was the extra 49 for?
when we told them 50% to 100% cut, their counter added 40, it was 49,000 less than 50%.
They didn't identify what it was they're paying for.
No, they did. They had it all listed out.
The presentation they gave.
Okay,
We have already done a reduction in force for one person about 6 months ago. Courtney in our office took on the additional work there. That leaves 1.5 FTE. They have received their reduction in force letters. The full FTE is going to go to work for WSU, so it's really just a transfer there. The other 0.6, who is maintaining the website, WSU, last we heard, is not able to keep that position. That person's aware. So there are some. There's obviously reductions. Yes.
okay. Thank you.
Having gone through the CIP, is there anything anybody like to call us back to for more discussion, since we've been through top to bottom now? In the
What was did we pencil in the 2 IT?
No, not current.
we did not, but we do have a possible other solution on that. There is enough fund underspend in their budget this year. Jason, let us know if we want to do it under this year's budget authority.
Do that.
Should have led with that.
Whoever came up with a good idea, and then Jason responds, and
But I get to choose. what
Jason
to
gets
do
the
with
gold sticker
savings.
for the day.
so those ones, yes, we can absorb those into the 25 budget. That's great. So now, hearing nothing else on this sheet at this moment, as is informed, when we look at both sheets, as far as a tentative placeholder, is there interest in funding some of parks operations? Knowing once we get more information from Bryce and the tension, we'll be revisiting. But if we are at about a $900,000 deficit in our current math, I would say fund balance is an option. Of course, cutting things is always an option. The 1% property tax with bank capacity would cover it. REIT would cover it.
A little bit of a few might cover it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go for 1%.
I was just I mean, I think it makes sense for now to assume that REIT would cover. Yeah. If we've got a little, we haven't committed to other projects under REIT yet. We've got a lot of our capital needs being funded through the bond. Or at least, big ticket items anyway.
So we're leaving 3 million of the 4 or 5 roll ahead, which we've already talked about, is a good idea. There's kind of some head nods for Lisa and pencil right now.
As one of you brought up earlier, is that knowing that 27 is gonna be just as much of a challenge year. It holds some of this back for some of those potential decisions you need to make against next year. Following you.
Commissioner Waldorf.
So Scott, you were just saying that we'll have some, more needs next year, but will the REIT amount grow?
Yeah, if we leave, like if we put in the 900,000 and we're to stay there. And we only spend 1.5 this year, that 3 million rolls forward. To the REIT fund balance.
Plus new revenue coming
Plus the
in
new-
next year.
We're pencil about 7.172 million of income. Next year off REIT, and if interest rates keep dropping, refinances could maybe make that even go higher. Because remember, you get the REIT off of both property sales and refis. Which could both increase if rates continue their downward trajectory.
Yeah, and there's, keep in mind the debt service that will be utilizing out of REIT for starting in the end of 2026 as well. So the revenue won't be wholly available, it'll be offset by the debt service for next year, but there should still be some additional growth in that account.
Next year, we
So,
have
Yeah.
penciled in the start REIT was 16.6 million. And so if we were to only spend 3, we would then have 16. Well, we have 3 more if we don't spend the full 4 or 5.
That's already there.
So we'd have a 13 going forward, 13.5 in
Getting fund
27.
balance.
The new debt services,
That includes the new debt service coming out.
that's how much again?
13,
3.2.
2.2.
3.2, yeah. And if we spent another 1.5 here, we would be baking close to 3 million.
So there is some capacity. I am concerned about next year's budget, and so I'd like to keep as much REIT as we could. So I'm trying to remember, if we did the 1% property tax increase, how much of an increase is that on the average household again?
Jason, can you send us that number?
I get it.
I just, the REIT does get replaced, but with the new debt we'll have less available. So I'm just trying to look at like what would be the best for next year as well. Because the 1% property tax increase, if I remember, is a very, very,
Yes, you're correct. It's only 75 cents. Because if we did nothing.
Right.
You would go down by $2.19. So the 1% increase would be 75 cents higher in 26 and 25. The remainder, $2.19. Be a reduction if we did nothing.
Now, is that if your assessed value stayed flat?
At 4.
Yes.
Well, that's at a $425,000 property assessment.
That stayed the same.
Yes,
Is
the
it-
assessment.
On average, assessments have gone down a hair this year with the market flattening a bit.
Yeah, I just bring that up that, that also, if we were to do the 0.1% property tax increase, it is an increase. And yes, you're right, like it could go up and down depending on your property value. But it's extremely small amount, 75 cents for the whole year. Is that what you said?
Correct, 6 cents a month, 75 cents for the
Okay.
year. That's for
Yeah.
the 1% alone. That does not include the road shift. Or I'm sorry,
Right.
incapacity.
Well, I'm just bringing, because then, if you do that, you have additional revenue in the next year, right? It adds to your revenue pot. I'm just concerned about 2027, because I can't remember what we were projecting for 2027 in terms of a potential deficit, but if we solve for this year, I have a concern about making sure we keep all of our options on the table to solve for next year as well. So I think we just need to have that mindset around the decisions that we're making around the budget. And that's why, keeping some of the REIT might be good because we have more needs next year that we need to meet, especially in parks. And anyway, I'm just throwing that into the mix that the 1% could be an option to meet the budget for this year and then have more capacity for next year as well, right?
Yes, that would be mathematically correct. Because it would compound.
Do we have an estimate right now of what, if we solve for this year, what a dollar amount deficit we're looking at for next year?
Right now, I believe it was at 17 million. And again, that's assuming some capital in there. But when you think of on average a 7% increase to wages, you're at over 15 million a year, 16, 17 million a year just there. And that's going up, and we're projecting a 2% increase in sales tax. So you can see that's a big difference there. There's a bit of a structural gap. So if you take the 2% off, you're probably at, I'd say 13 to 15 million based on our contracts with employee wages, which is our biggest cost driver.
Does that include, has that been updated to reflect some of the attrition that's happened this year?
Jason's gone through and we've proved that out. Yeah, we're down about 80. Well, we haven't gone through and taken positions out based on decisions here. But before this process started, we're down about 80 FTEs year to date. 55 of them were already empty positions that we just closed. And then the other 25, there's been, I think, 5 reductions in force. The remaining are natural attrition. We've not refilled positions.
So when we started the budget process at the beginning of the year, you had a projection out. What was the projected deficit at that time for 27? Do you remember?
Actually, we have a chart to show
I'm
you.
quizzing
It's
you. I'm asking you to go back in time. I'm trying to figure out.
It was 20 this year and there was a
Trying to figure out how much have we closed it.
31, yeah.
So from 31 to
17.
Okay.
So the work you've done this year, has closed this year's budget and taken 14 million off of next year's projected. So we have that continual salary and wages going up faster than sales tax. So it's hard to get ahead of it.
I would anticipate next year will be more difficult than this year. This year was a challenge, but sort of Harvest Rose is a challenge, but you start. I wouldn't say they were low hanging fruit, but there was opportunities that we had this year to change that trajectory, and it will become more difficult next year. But again, good, it's been great work this year, being able to close that gap.
I believe next year's budget will be much more difficult. Low hanging fruit is out. So it will be challenging. Jason also sent, as of a couple weeks ago, the median home in Spokane County was assessed at 388. So our 425 would be a little bit on the high side of median. I know I talked with the assessor a few months ago, just on stuff in general. He mentioned that assessments were slightly, not hugely so, but slightly on average, but of course there'll be outliers. That's all I think. So for next week, we'll have a detention short presentation to talk through that. With Bryce, we're going to have, we've gone through sheriff's revenue, and we'd like to have a conversation with this, have the sheriff come in, talk through their revenue projections, just so everybody's on the same page there. And then we will need to, after the detention conversation, just revisit and see what changes, and then at the 2 o'clock next week is when the revenue votes will be, as far as a 1% or anything like that. But the morning will be those.
Monday at 2, you said?
Correct. So the morning would be sheriff and detention. And we'll have a roll up, what did we get done? Of your decisions to date. And then anything else that comes up between now and then.
Yeah, and we would recommend Sheriff's Department go first. That could be informative on conversation with detention services.
Because we're not meeting Tuesday, is there going to be another special meeting for agenda item to vote on at 2 o'clock?
We've got
Right.
that one, I believe we've got that one already noticed. We had anticipated that we weren't going to have a Tuesday, so I believe we've already got that one. In advance notice, it would be a public hearing for the levy and your regular legislative agenda in the
Consent
afternoon
agenda.
on
Okay.
Monday. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
It'll be a pretty, we're just gonna revisit the 3 slides that show the impact of individual houses in their plan, just to kind of put the real numbers in front of you. So our presentation will be quite short unless we get direction otherwise.
Sounds good.
Quick question. Do you plan to, at any point, give an updated projection of 5 years, or what would be?
Like this one right here, you can look at.
Yeah.
Jason just sent it to us.
That structural gap is looming large, so I just like to see what the latest snapshot is of
We are
that.
planning on presenting it on the 1st, but we can send it around even later today. You guys will look at, and we could add that to next week's, I mean, it'd just be showing it, putting it out there for the public to see.
It's
It's already
good to
made.
show that we made progress on that.
Yeah.
Jason's done a great job, I think, illustrating. So I think that's.
Who's on here? I just wanted to share kind of along the lines of projections. It was reminding me, we had our review presentations with our rating agencies last week on Wednesday, I think. So Moody's and then Standard & Poor's, this was in advance of the debt issuance. They come in and ask us a series of questions. We present our kind of overall state of the state, our finances, use of funds. There's a little bit of a Chamber of Commerce piece of there. We talk about economic development, what's been happening over the last couple of years. And then from that, they will deliver to us what their ratings that they're going to be coming out for our bond issuance. We're going to get those, I believe, next week. I thought the meetings went really well, very well prepared for the conversations. We got very positive feedback from Moody's. And it's interesting, each of the rating agencies kind of have their own little style and whatnot, but I thought both of the meetings went very well, and we were well prepared and did not have any hiccups or any concerns. I think they really appreciated how the policies and practices of the board with regards to budget financing were very well received by them. And so just want to let you all know. It's good.
Great. Okay. Anything else for today?
Thank you guys for plugging through the last couple of weeks with all these decisions.
Good, good. That's everything, no, stop the recording. No, okay, sorry. Okay. Any miscellaneous items for anyone? Okay, well then in that case, it is 3:27 and we are adjourned.